You are watching Access LaPorte County, Channel 97. Coming up next is the December 12th, 2022 meeting of the Michigan City Redevelopment Commission. You can find more information for this meeting by visiting www.accesslaportecounty.org.
Good evening and welcome to the Michigan City Redevelopment Commission meeting, Monday, December 12th, 2022 at 5 p.m. plus a few minutes. I'd like to call the meeting to order, go through the roll call. Commissioner Barron.
Here.
Commissioner Dennis.
Here.
Commissioner Deitch is not here this evening. Commissioner Hendricks.
Here.
And the Chair Chatfield is here, so we have a quorum. I'd like to go to the next item, number 3, approval of minutes of the 11/14/22 executive session and the 11/14 hybrid regular meeting. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections to the minutes of either of those meetings?
Move we approve the minutes from October 14th.
Executive and hybrid. Thank you.
Yes.
I move to approve.
Having a first and a second, I'll go through the roll call. Commissioner Barron.
Yes.
Commissioner Dennis.
Aye.
Commissioner Hendricks.
Aye.
And the chair is aye. Thank you. Go to Mr. York. Approval of claims, December 12th, 2022. I'm sorry.
Yes, this is a approval of the claims docket. These are our claims. So for payroll, we had November 2022 CDBG reimbursables, staff and commissioners. From our operating account, we had Great American Financial copier fees for November 2022. Saranac Law Offices for legal retainer for November 2022. Van Osdale and Ferrier for annual renewal of the WinScribe transcription, which is a machine that Debbie uses to transcribe our minutes. North TIF is August Mac. From the North TIF, we have August Mac for our 2022 activities for the Trail Creek properties, Begley and Concord. 9/5/22 to 10/2/22. We have Barnes and Thornburg for legal services for redevelopment and economic matters through 10/31/22. Butler, Fairman, and Seifert for Washington Park Boulevard streetscape. We had City of Michigan City for a reimbursement wire transfer for 2021 Wabash Street bond debt service payment. We had HDR Engineering for a station block TOD, it should be TOD, not TID, TOD modification through 10/22/22. We had Neighborhood Capital for development services retainer for October and November of 2022. We had NIPSCO for utilities at 1215 East 2nd Street as of 12/28/22. Saranac Law Offices for legal services in the North TIF for November of 2022. We had Stager Hardware for the 5th installment and final installment for acquisition of a parcel at 46-01-22-407-015.000-022. We had Tracy Cross for our downtown residential market analysis, final pay. From the South TIF, we had the City of Michigan City reimbursement for wire transfer 2015 special taxing district refunding bonds for 400 North debt service payment. We had Saranac Law Offices for legal fees in the South TIF for November of 2022. And then we had from the 2018 Ohio Street Bond, we had a U.S. Bank requisition 41 from operating fund, Baker Tilly arbitrage. And we had for a 2015 Wabash Street Bond, we had U.S. Bank for debt services payment through the escrow funds. And that concludes our claims.
Any questions for Mr. York? Hearing none, I'd ask for a motion to approve the claims.
Motion to approve the claims for December 12th, 2022.
Motion to second.
Thank you. Having a first and a second, we'll go through the roll call. Commissioner Barron,
Aye.
Commissioner Dennis,
Aye.
Commissioner Hendricks,
Aye.
and the chair is aye. Motion passes. Next on the agenda, approval of financial reports. Financial report, October 31, 2022. Mr. York.
Yes. From our cash accounts, we have operating account with $272,071.48. From our South Side TIF account, we have $7,487,936.48. From the South Side TIF debt reserve account, we have $336,308.50. In our South Side TIF capital account, we have $16,601.62. From the North End TIF account, we have $2,750,625.89. In the East Side TIF, we have $101,778.96. In the Northeast TIF account, we have $420,949.44. Our loans receivable, we have a county business loan fund for $133,333 for total assets of $11,519,605.37.
Any questions for Mr. York? Hearing none.
Move
I'd
to
ask
approve the financials as presented.
for a motion.
Second that motion.
Having a first and a second, I'll go through the roll call. Commissioner Barron,
Aye.
Commissioner Dennis,
Aye.
Commissioner Hendricks,
Aye.
and the chair is aye. Motion passes. Next on the agenda, Southside TIF Connectivity Improvement Project updates and approvals.
Ryan, I'll hand this off to you. And I think Alan's been working on it as well. We do have the Menards agreement. Yep. Okay, cool.
I see Ryan over there.
You on line, Ryan?
If not, we can start with Alan.
I think he's right there.
Oh, hey, Ryan, sorry.
Can you hear me?
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have a very lengthy report here tonight. I'll say with regard to the CC1 project, basically that's just going to be a pending item really until the spring when the construction can begin. So that there won't really be much to update there besides Alan perhaps and DLZ could provide some updates regarding the easements and land acquisitions for that project, but that's outside of our scope. With regard to the non-CC1 projects or parts of this project, we are kind of in a holding pattern on that as well. With the we've delivered to you guys the final preliminary designs as amended. And the next step is to define how much of the project should be carried into the final design and work out that agreement. We do have the remaining geotechnical work to get completed, and that's hinging on the approval of the Menards agreement, as you alluded to, Skylar. So once that's approved, we should be able to move forward with that work. And I think that's about it for me right now. I think Sylvia Collins is working on setting up a meeting with us all to discuss the final design work and scope going forward. So hopefully that'll happen maybe next week. And I think that's about it for me, unless you have any questions.
Any questions for Ryan? Attorney Cernick, you have some detail?
Right. Part of our agreement with Haas and Associates is for them to do geotechnical work on certain aspects as related, I think, to the latter phases of the South TIF connectivity project. One of the properties in which they need to get on is the Menard property. We have talked with Menards with regards to allowing us or allowing Haas and Associates and their agents to go on that property to do this work. I sent you a copy of a right of entry grant that quite frankly is about 90% never going to happen. 10% is relevant, but no matter, when you deal with a big corporation, 90% of what they have is not relevant as it relates to what we need to do. So, but the stuff in there that they require, for example, for one example, is just, if we do any kind of hazardous material and there's a spill, we'll agree to clean it up. Well, to my knowledge, and I'm no expert in this, but to my knowledge on geotechnical work, hazardous materials are not part of that effort. So, but you agree to it anyway. So, but basically, paragraph 2 spells out exactly what they are allowing us to do. I've run this by Ryan. He said that's exactly what we are doing. In fact, I think Ryan wrote a good part of that. So what I'm asking you to do now, from our viewpoint, is to agree to this right of entry grant that's being extended to us by Menards. When we approve it tonight, it'll go back to Menards tomorrow. I'll get execution from them and get a copy to Debbie from there.
Very good. Ryan, thank you. Attorney Siernick, thank you for the update. Next on the agenda, You're Beautiful. Oh, no, I'm sorry, Station Block.
We had
We need to approve.
move, we approve the right of entry agreement with
Yeah, thank you.
Menards.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Commissioner Barron,
Aye.
Commissioner Dennis,
Aye.
Commissioner Hendricks,
Aye.
and the chair's aye. So the motion passes. Thank you. And I'll sign that, yes. Move to the next topic, Station Block update. Mr. York.
So in our last meeting, I said that we would know if we were getting an award from the state on the 8th. We did get an award from the state. At this point in time, we are working through the legalities of that and just finalizing our agreements with regard to the state and just working through the particulars of that agreement and making sure that we understand exactly how the mechanics work. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. We are preparing in hopefully January, 1st of January, to go through development site review. And right now we have been having numerous meetings with NICD and the Federal Transit Authority and Flaherty and Collins to make sure that the garage and the station is what it needs to be in order to meet the requirements to access federal transit money, and just making sure we understand all the engineering and the moving parts of that project. So that's kind of where we're at right now. Alan, do you have anything to add? Anything?
Just that if all goes well, we will be celebrating again in January.
I hope so. Next, You're Beautiful update, Mr. York.
For the You're Beautiful update, I'm just working with Barry still. We spoke today shortly via email and text message, just making sure that we're moving forward. We did go through development site review last Monday to go over their civil engineering and their site plans. And from what I hear, everything was good from the standpoint of other departments. So we gave them some feedback. They answered our questions. Now they'll have to go back and correct anything that needed to be done with utility, with respect to utilities and services, and still moving forward with it.
That's also good news. So, any questions for Mr. York? 1215 East Second Street update. Mr. York again.
Yeah, so this is the Burnham project, and we're still moving forward with that, but I'll hand that off to Alan. Do you have anything to add? We are setting up we're working on a closing date right now
We have
for the project.
Where we stand right now, as you may recall, from our last agreement, our economic development agreement with them that we have extended many, many times through no fault of Burnham, but just through all the hoops for them to be able to get their loan in the manner in which they can get their loan so as to make this project feasible for them. We don't have to continue it any longer. We don't have to extend this agreement any longer. On December 22nd, they will do the closing for their loan. All documents will be executed that we've already approved. The property will be conveyed to the EDC. The EDC will sell it to Burnham. Burnham will be executing a promissory note that will be forgiven, and then they can begin construction on their on this project. So hopefully we will have. I know we anticipated having a brewery being in place in the springtime, but it may end up being close. I think if I remember, it's a 1-year construction project. So sometime in 2024, this thing will be a reality. So that's it.
That's very good news. We're finally coming to fruition. This has been a very, very long project. The Redevelopment Commission is probably 5 years. So we're coming to fruition. So I feel good about it. So the highlight of the night, the Michigan City Area Schools Technology Grant. Representatives from the school are here to talk about how I feel so good about this project that we've been able to convey dollars to technology for the schools, Chromebooks and other things. So I'll just pass it over. If you could just state your name and address, please.
Absolutely. Kevin McGuire, Chief Financial Officer for Michigan City Area Schools, 408 South Carroll Avenue. Good evening, everybody. It's always a pleasure to come in front of you, update you on where we're at, what's going on. And then I always like to add that little tidbit of what's happening next to always keep things moving forward.
Yeah, good.
I guess, pick up where you left off, Mr. President. The dollars have certainly benefited the school district in great ways, and many ways I will share with you tonight. So brief update I wanted to share with you where we're at with the project itself. The budget that we talked about and we shared from, just had it up. I'll just let you move forward. That works. So the original budget, as it was discussed and presented back in 2020, essentially 2/3 of the project is for staff development. We continue to move forward with that staff development. That still is the priority of the grant. Roughly is $400,000 we have set aside for staff development. And what the focus for this grant in this 5 years was all around the computer science standards that came out in late 2019. That all students K through 12 are required to have computer science skills. So our focus with this grant was, how do we bring our teachers up to speed? How do we get solutions in place of students? And how do we build a curriculum to make sure that the students are learning what they need to learn and then are employable at the end of the grant period, or at the end of their education career? What are those pieces that we need? So that's really what we focus on. That continues to be where we're at. And we did have a little bit of a sidebar with COVID, as you're well aware, and we did move some money, which actually all fit inside the grant because it allowed us to do some things in the virtual world that we wouldn't have necessarily been able to do without some of the grant funds. So we moved forward with that, and we updated you last May with some of those pieces. So moving forward, what we have done now this year, and our focus again still is with the staff development, but the next big piece was those added components. So we'll discuss some of the pieces that we've added here this year. I'll let Drew go ahead. So staff development, just a quick update. Nearly 100 teachers attended some of our workshops that were financed by the grant. And again, these all were kind of geared around technology components, really revolving around those computer science standards and how we're moving forward with those. We've also added the PLC time for our teachers. This goes back actually to the original grant that we got back in 2015. That's an extra hour on Wednesdays. 2 hours a month are afforded by this grant. That's financed by this grant. So those teachers, every classroom teacher got 7 hours to this point this fall. That was financed by the grant. So that will continue again as we move forward. And then this year, just piggybacking on what we did all the way back last the 2015 grant. We had 2 e-learning days this year, which again, that was the goal that I came to you nearly 7 years ago, that once we can have students that go home and have internet at home and have school from home, we knew that we finally got someplace. So every student has a device in their hands. E-learning was offered to students. And what's different this year with e-learning days, now the state's requiring us to do synchronous e-learning for any out of school because of snow days or what have you. So 50% of our class time has to be synchronous, which means students have to be online during that time frame while they're receiving that education, which is a little different. That's new this year for us to handle. So as I mentioned, every student K through 12 does have a Chromebook now. We've added things like 3D printers, some Lego Mindstorm, some other pieces that are now going to be housed in the library. Again, piggybacking on some of those computer science, as well as building out those innovation centers that we talked about in 2020, giving the students, instead of having all the equipment available in the classroom for every teacher, we're putting it in the libraries, and the student or the teachers can check it out from the library and take it back to their classroom, or they can actually do the assignment within the library. The other piece of that I want to make sure everybody's aware of, that we have a great partnership with both the county library and the city library, and we use some of their resources in the school systems as well. From a county library standpoint, our teachers are able to check out solutions that they have at the county. They actually deliver them to the school system. Teachers use it, and then we deliver it back. So we are working with them using the same tools that we have in our buildings that they have. They are purchasing the same things that we have. So we all have the same materials between both locations. So we have ample amount of equipment for every teacher. Another big thing that happened this year, not necessarily with redevelopment grants, but in line with the grant itself, is that we were able to update all of the student desktops, all of the PLT machines, all the lab machines that we have in the district, which I might say that number has come down tremendously now that every student has a Chromebook. We're only looking like 380 machines that got replaced this year, which is every student desktop in the district. So that was a big refresh for us. And the other big piece is in January of this year, we're going to open up our first maker space at the high school. Again, this goes in line with the Innovation Center. This was the whole idea as we push things off. A maker space, as I see from Chris's face there, is a place that students can come in and actually build and design things. So we have classes, if you're familiar with the Project Lead the Way equipment, where there's 3D printers or there's lathes, there might be paper cut machines. There's just industrial equipment that students have access to. What we're trying to do is give students access to that equipment outside of the classroom. So if you can remember your shop class back in the day, the only place that you could have that equipment was in shop class. But if you wanted to do something with that equipment in a different class, you couldn't get access to it. So what we're trying to do is give access to the equipment to students after hours. So if I learned something in my Project Lead the Way class, or I learned something somewhere else, I now have the ability to go use that equipment in my English class or in my social studies class, or in whatever coursework that I need. So it's that cross-curricular connection that we're making available. So again, all the equipment is going to be available for the students either after hours or during those classes. This is equipment that teachers can take their class to, students will have access to on their break times or after hours, whatever it might be. It is just a space. Right now, it's just one classroom. So we expect and intend that this will be that library space as we build it out at the rest of the buildings. But we're going to start small and kind of expand from there. So we're pretty excited that that's going to happen. Some infrastructure upgrades that we have. We completed our wireless, so we now ruckus throughout the entire district, which that ruckus may not mean much to you, but it is a pretty robust wireless technology. All students now, no matter where you go in the district, we're 100% covered with wireless fidelity in any location of the building. We also updated all of our switch technology. So again, as you get further out from the central office and in this classrooms, we are now capable of doing 10 gigabit per second all the way to the edge switch. which then of course gets a faster connection to each one of those computers into the classroom. So again, it's just increasing our speeds all the way down to the classroom. And the two big things and two items I want to expand on a little bit tonight, the CBRS network, which is something we talked about last meeting, that this is going and this is happening. We've expanded who we have connectivity to now. So there's roughly 165 homes now that are connected, which represent about 300 students that are getting free Wi-Fi from that wireless network that we built. And again, just give you some back-end information, that was that $600,000 gear grant that we got after COVID to build that out. We have 4 buildings right now with antennas on them that we offer internet access from. And this does include any parochial students or even at-home students. So if there's an at-home student that lives in that area, we are offering that to those students as well. As it is a state grant that we received. So, and that's part of our commitment with the non-pubs as well. And then the I neighborhoods, which I'll discuss a little bit later, our proof of concepts are being deployed. I hope that you've heard some things. There's been some presentations that we've given throughout the community, but I'll touch on that a little bit more here in a few minutes. So again, just the coverage map of our wireless. This was the addresses that we laid out originally: Elston, Marsh, Plant Planning, and the ad building. And actually NAP is on that list now, have antennas on them. We started with roughly 1,700 student homes, unique addresses that we wanted to kind of target, which represent about 3,000 of our students. Again, this does not take into consideration the non-pubs or any students at home, but that was kind of the pilot area that we wanted to push off with. And then, Drew, if you go ahead and go to the next slide, this gives you kind of an overlay. I wanted to make this a little bit easier to read, cut out that corner that we don't have heat maps for, but this shows that overlay of the student addresses as well as the heat map of what we're actually seeing in the community. So just because there's not coverage doesn't mean that there's no Wi-Fi or no ability there to connect. It just means the car didn't go down that street to connect or to judge whether or not there's Wi-Fi access there. So as you can see, we're covering a very large area of the community. And the reason I wanted to point this out before I go to the next topic is we've had lots of conversations over the last year with the city, with the police department, with Andy Metanek and the city transportation, as well as the sanitation. There's a lot of people involved, a lot of conversations that are being had on how now can we as a community utilize this network. My ultimate goal is to connect students. I want a student to be able to go home. Got to bring my prop up. We have our first internet-enabled Chromebook now. This has the Band 48 card, so this device will allow a student to go home and connect without any other device in our household to the wireless network. So just like say your cell phone works or anything else works, with a SIM card in it, it works the exact same way. So this device will allow them to sit into the McDonald's or whatever. They don't necessarily have to connect to a Wi-Fi access. They can connect back to the network that we're building. So we finally have devices now that are capable of doing that. But what's that next piece? How do we now connect, all of those components I just mentioned? How do we build this out? And I would like to introduce you to David Sandel, who came to join the meeting. And during all these conversations and all the pieces, through mutual partners and other contacts that we had, David came to us and brought this concept of digital placemaking to myself and Michigan City area schools. And so when first knowing about it, first time I heard it, I'm like, well, what really is that? And really, it's just augmenting your environment, doing a digital overlay of where you're physically at and how to make that experience better. So just some very easy things for you to imagine. If you're in the downtown area, if you want to see a security camera as you're coming off the South Shore station, if you want to see your parking lot security camera, obviously, you know that can happen now through a website or through a phone app. But what the digital placemaking does is adds that you have to be in that location in order to either get that experience or that added benefit. So as you're walking by a building, certainly you can look up on your phone and know that, the building, the history of that building and when it was built and why it's built, so on and so forth. But as you're in that area, you're going to get some different information. It could be if there's a retail store in there, there could be different sales. There could be different items that, that are being highlighted in this area. So just because you're in the area, it could be events that they're offering. It could be parking spots is the current presentation that we're given, whether their parking spot is open. It could be a map on how you're going to get from place A to place B. There's just this, it's that digital piece, that overlay of the environment and the neighborhood of you're in based on you being there, not just pulling up a website, not just pulling up an app on your phone and getting the information. It's to change your experience and give you more information because of where you're located. The two slides on the right are actual slides from our proof of concepts. And so I want to speak to those a little bit. What we've done, and actually, Drew, if you can go just why, I mean, because this is a question that came out to me through our Board of Works conversations. Why is Michigan City Schools interested in digital placemaking? And for obvious reasons, or maybe not so obvious reasons, one of the proof of concepts that we have is at Barker Middle School. And you can imagine the traffic flow of students out, parents in, buses around, cars driving by, so on and so forth. There's a lot of people in and around the building. One of the concepts and proof of concepts that we're building out at Barker is how can we track those individuals and then make decisions based on traffic flow on the patterns that we're seeing from students in that area, as well as adding cameras. So we do have 2 cameras that are on Barker. One faces outward, one faces the buses, one faces the parents. So now we can see how things are happening in real time, and we can correlate that with the data that we're getting off of the sensors as well. You can see how this builds out. Dave can talk to some proof of concepts he has done in St. Louis, but from an education standpoint, again, traffic flow being one of them. From what we can do in Michigan City, you're now talking different neighborhoods. We can talk about the history of the city. We can talk about architectural sculptures. We can talk about the life type habitats that we have, like Michigan. I mean, you're endless, and just your imagination of what we can do with this, and what if we can tie this all together into one network, what that can do. And then obviously my big piece and I need to sustain the CBRS network, right? I mean, there's unfortunately not an endless amount of money to sustain the network. We want to build it out. We want to make sure that we can sustain it for the kids, and we want to pay for it. And I do think this is a perfect public-private partnership where the schools can kind of build out the network, but then the private side and the private industry, if we can lay this overlay on the network, these are pieces that can help afford the network moving forward. So again, if you could go back one slide for me, Drew, just to talk about our proof of concepts and some things and partners that we have with this. So I mentioned Barker and what's happening in Barker with the cameras and some of the tracking systems there. That is a picture of Good News Vintage. If you're familiar with that shop in downtown Michigan City, Amy has been kind enough to work with us as well. And if you know Amy, she's not a real technical person, but that was one of the reasons that we wanted to reach out to her and kind of work with her. So we're putting things like door sensors on her building. We have a forward-facing camera so you can see her storefront, which actually comes from an automated data system to right across the street. Amy is very involved with her window displays, and she changes out frequently. So we want to give her data on what display may have been up during that week where your door opened up more often. So she can now start to relay and put together what attracts people. And she can now put that year over what she can do. Maybe it's the holiday season, what it might be. She can now start using data to make decisions based on who comes into her store and the data that we give her. And then another just proof of concept, working with MC Interiors. We would like to set up a camera. We're very close to getting a camera set up in their building. We understand there might be some changes in that area. We understand there might be a South Shore station that could be going up very soon. We'd like to get a camera that connects to our network, that if you're in the area, if you're not in the area, you could actually see the building being built. We can see some of the changes in the area. Just to help kind of build that community connection. And, things that can actually run on the network, and you're not paying your data fee. You're not paying T-Mobile or Verizon. This is a school ran network that we have access to. So just a quick list that I gave you, you guys can buzz through that. This is a very short list of the many things that you can add onto this. And kind of, as I mentioned, our imagination is the only thing that limiting to us to what can happen. I understand from talking to Clarence that there's a lot of dollars that are being spent for just pulling in data for who comes off 94 and goes to the beach, or who comes off 94 and goes to Blue Chip. All of that technology can sit on top of this network. It all can be a way that we can all get data and information off it to make decisions on traffic flow or event security or whatever it might be, or just knowing how many people are coming from Chicago into the downtown area. One of the things that Clarence had brought up in a conversation that we had is that we're going to have a couple hundred people in the community just on construction. And we'd like to know maybe where they're going for lunch, or where are they coming from the area, or are they leaving the area, or are they staying put on the construction zones? Where are they going, what are they doing? Because now we can make decisions as a community on better serving them as well as making our lives better. So this is all things that we can sit on top of this network and pull some data for. So cameras, sensors, again, our imaginations are our only limits. So, and I stole this from Dave, one of Dave's presentation, but I thought it was perfect. As an individual that comes downtown area, we've talked about it many times. There's been several presentations over the years, and whether it's the pavilion or events or whatever have you downtown, it's that living room space. It's the space where I feel comfortable. It's the space where I want to be and where everybody else is coming to be. And I thought that slogan there, the connectedness attracts people. That's, if I'm coming downtown, if I can have all of these tools in my pocket on my phone, I know where the bus is going to be and when it's going to be there. I know, whether a parking spot is open or available to me. I know that Amy has a sale going on at 15% off. When I'm in that area, these are all things that are going to bring me to the area, and all things that the network can offer, and all things that sit inside of that digital placemaking. So that's the next project that we'll be working on, as well as the CBRS network. So with that, I just open up to any questions.
Kevin, thanks so much. A lot of info there, right? First off, the dollars that we've given the schools for a number of years now, obviously very well spent. It's an economic development driver for us, and what you've done with it is impressive. I've got a couple questions, but I'd open it up to the commission if there are any other questions that they might have, and we'll come back to me.
Kevin, can I just say a couple things to add on? Kevin and I have been talking. I've been in a few meetings, and it's been very exciting. It's fun to just kind of dream. Some of it, like you said, it's really limitless to where you can go with this. I'm just amazed at the things you can collect. Some of the things we talked about was, the bus system. He mentioned transportation. We've often talked about, if we put these we've talked about getting kiosks downtown. Well, really, you don't need a kiosk. You have this, it's already there. You have the kiosk in your pocket, it's there. We've talked about knowing where buses are and how do I get around the city and where's the trails at and things. There's so much. It's just really exciting to think about all the potential of it all. How cold's the water? Can I go swimming today? We can put a sensor on a buoy, how cold the water is. It's really amazing the things that can be collected with it, and it's never too cold. But it's just exciting to really think about that, and also think about how all those things are related to the things that we're doing from an economic development standpoint, and getting people in our downtown, making it easy for people to live in our neighborhoods with respect, like, when does my garbage come? Yeah. When does recycle come? That's why we would talk with the other utility districts. It's like, when does I can never remember when my recycling comes. Well, it's right there in your pocket, and it tells you when it will come, when the leaf come, so it's just things like that. It's pretty exciting.
Yeah, actually, the last conversation I had on the phone with Skylar, he was down in French Lick, and Anderson, I think, just got an award because they put sensors on their recycling bins or on their trucks. One of the slides that I showed you, actually, we have 3 sensors that we're using now just on our personal vehicles, but just so we can track data, but it's just for that. It just tells, you can showcase where the garbage truck, where the bus is at, where the recycling bin is at, or the recycling truck is at. So yeah, we have the capability to track all that right now.
They won an award because you always forget maybe to take you're like, oh man, it's almost here. Well, it notifies you when your truck's like a block away or something like that. Yeah, 10 minutes. It's pretty amazing. They won an award for that.
Any other questions or comments?
I have a question. Do you have a plan then for how you get this information out to people in the community, and so they know how to use their phones or whatever to connect to be able to get this information?
Yeah, so not there yet. And then that's where really it's getting all the pieces together of what we're going to put on top of this. I think what's really neat now is the conversations we're having with Skylar and Andy and Clarence, is all these pieces are coming together where at least we're having the conversation now. So Andy had notified us that they're doing a bus prototype right now so they can see where the bus is at and have GPS sensors. Well, this is something that we can sit on top. So still building that out just yet, still trying to get the groundwork. The point of tonight's presentation was make sure you guys were all aware that this is going on and it's available. So as you have your conversations, you can think about, oh, this is another piece I need to make Skylar aware or Kevin aware that this can happen. So that's coming, yet to be determined how that's going to happen.
Any more comments? Tom? No?
Kevin, why don't you share with us the award that you recently won on the Society of Innovation?
Yeah, thanks. So yeah, we're a recent recipient of the our 2022 inductee to the PNW Society of Innovators. And it was all wrapped around the CBRS network. So I'm pretty honored with that. It's just all about getting internet access to students, and that's what the award was for. So yeah, very honored. Thanks for bringing it up.
Yeah, thanks, Ken, for that. That was actually one of my not questions but comments, but obviously very important city network. Obviously e-learning. So e-learning is really some of the e-learning days that the students have. It's much different than when I was growing up in the 70s and 80s, right? And so e-learning now it's some of it's state mandated.
Not necessarily. You're not required to have an e-learning day.
Okay.
It's a state option.
Okay, option. Okay.
Primarily for hazardous weather, snow delays. We use e-learning days for both staff development and for election as well. Because our buildings are used as polling places. So
Sure.
From a security standpoint, we decided it just makes sense that we don't have classes in the building that day. What the state has done this year, though, is they require us to make sure that if you have an e-learning day, that synchronous instruction is happening, which that just means the students are online at the same time the teacher's online, and the instruction is happening just as if they would be in the classroom.
Yeah, very good. So we talk about the broadband, and you talk about 300 students have free Wi-Fi. Is that enough?
Oh, absolutely not. So thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah,
we know 15% of our students don't have internet access, and that could be for multiple reasons. And this was my passion when we pushed for the network to build it out. They could be because they live in an area that just internet access isn't available. I mean, if you look at southern side of our area, the Wasnack area, Wasnack Road area, Cool Spring Township area, that area, there's spots that Comcast just doesn't run. T-Mobile, Wi-Fi devices just don't work in the tree areas. So those are areas that we have to try to figure out how we get connected. Then we have a lot of families that just can't afford internet access. And I've been in front of T-Mobile, Verizon, AT&T, Comcast, and they all have projects to connect low-income families, but there are a lot of loopholes for each of those. And it's not as easy as just give me access, right? They have to fill out the paperwork. They got to go through the process. And, some parents, some grandparents just don't go through the process. So we have that group of students as well that they don't have internet access because they can't afford it or because there's too many barriers for them to get it. And then the scariest group that I feel I'm speaking for the most are parents that just decide they don't need it. Right. And about 7% of our families don't have internet access because the parent just decides that they don't need it, that their cell phone or their connectivity that they currently have is enough, that they don't have to have internet access for whatever reason that doesn't serve their family. So those are the students that I'm most concerned about because they could come from a great family and then they just need internet access. So it is a way for us to cover them all. But above that is we know that students don't always just go home after school either. They may go to grandma's house, they may go to the aunt's house, they may go anywhere. this network allows us to cover all of those locations without any questions, that the student can connect wherever they're at.
Yeah. So think about that in the future, that if there's a way that we can help in that, certainly something to talk to us about.
Well, it's a reason that I keep giving you updates on the project, because I do think that at some point there will be a city conversation on how do we make this happen for everybody.
Sure.
And I think these overlays, these other pieces that add to it, is how, as a community, we can pay for it. So I get I understand why Comcast doesn't just go run a line down a road and connect 3 houses for $1 million. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make business sense. It doesn't make sense for the school system either to lay out this big wireless network and then have to continue with the maintenance and management and update. We have to find ways that we can all work together to offset our costs to afford the project at hand.
Yeah. Two more items. Collaboration of students. So, in what you're doing, I'm a commercial banker. I work with entrepreneurs. Collaboration of students in the things that you're doing. Is there a way for us to connect students with some of the things that you're doing to have some interactive work that would help them as they move forward in their endeavors?
Absolutely. So one of the things that we have discussed, that education component, especially with the iNeighborhoods project, is that there's not a whole lot of development. This is pretty forward. There are spots in the nation where you have this digital placemaking and things are happening on a small scale. But as far as I'm aware, and from our conversations, it hasn't happened on a community level. And these are definitely places where we can pull the students in to help build that out, because these are all things that the students could have access to and help build that out. And, from a network standpoint, we've talked about it from a school standpoint on the support, the maintenance, somebody can go show grandma how to connect a box and plug things in, all possibilities for students to get involved.
Yeah, sure.
Seniors Helping Seniors is a great project, and it's something that we would love to push out here in the community as well.
Absolutely. Can you turn off the cameras between 7:15 and 7:17 at Barker when I'm dropping my son off?
Yeah, so one of the great things about the cameras is that it's not meant to be a security camera, right? It's not meant to, there's no recording device. What it's meant to do, and the proof of concept, is that if you're coming into that area and you want to see what the parking lot's available, you can pull it up and you can see, I don't want to go that way today because Mr. Chatfield is already there. But I can get a 10 or 15 second snapshot of what's happening. And what has happened in other proof of concepts in other areas, for instance, the South Shore Station is something that I'm very interested in, because I think this is a neighborhood and area that this is a lot of these sensors and things we can happen in that area. You got people coming from out of town. They would be very interested in seeing what's happening in those areas. If you're coming in on South Shore and you're connected to the network, you can look at a camera for 15 seconds and see that your car is secure. Or if you're coming in from outside and you're going to park, you can see that there's a parking spot available. So the idea is that the cameras and the videos only set for short time frames, 10, 15 seconds. And if you do it for multiple periods of time, you get blocked out. So you can't sit there and refresh every, 30 seconds to get a new look. Because, there are some interesting individuals out there that might try to take advantage of that. So we certainly want to make sure that this isn't Big Brother watching. This is for your benefit to see what's going on in that area. And now I'm going to be watching your car.
Yeah.
Please don't. It's a blood pressure issue when I pull in there. So
all the more reasons to have the tools there, so it's quite better for everybody.
If there are no other comments, Kevin, thank you so much.
Absolutely, thank you.
We need to approve anything? No. Your update's great. We continue to support the schools and how we can help with the technology piece, and you guys are doing a great job.
Thank you very much, and happy holidays, everybody.
Yeah. Merry Christmas. Thank you. Number 11 is always the one that I'm most concerned about, is the report of legal counsel.
Just want to say one. I want to say one thing from what Kevin said. He said seniors helping seniors. That strikes me as more the blind leading the blind, but
high school seniors.
Oh, high school.
seniors.
High school seniors leading seniors. Now you got something. We have this project, we have this program of riverfront licenses that I think everybody who is familiar with it and is involved with it thinks is a wonderful development tool and has been very instrumental for our downtown area. It is also, though, not without some controversy, and I understand that, even if I don't agree with it, but it certainly requires us as a commission to be sensitive to that criticism and also then to enforce the program rules that we do have in place. And Skylar and I have talked about this many times, but I'm not saying that I do this routinely. It's just kind of on happenstance, more times than not based on my food interest or appetite. But when we have some of these licenses that we've given out, and then you go there and you find out that they are no longer in business, and contrary to what our rules are, they don't notify us, and we have to find out by accident, by word of mouth. And again, I kind of understand that. It just makes me mad. Last spring, I wrote a letter to the Chicopee restaurant. They have a liquor license, and told them that they're not open and they're violating the rules, and we would be considering suspending their license. They wrote me back and appreciated that. And they're saying they're doing a major renovation to their building, which was fine. And they expected that to be done sometime late spring, early summer. So we kind of let that go. I was down there in November sometime, maybe in October, both for lunch, but also I was over there at the coffee place that's next to them, and they're still closed. So I wrote them a letter in November and saying, hey, what gives? And that was ignored. So I don't know what gives. I do know, according to our rules, they are not following our rules, and that may need some kind of action. Similarly, I went by Aguavi Mansion not too long ago, and they likewise are temporarily closed. Again, no warning, no advance notice, no anything. I did send their attorney a letter and asked him what's going on with that. I've not heard back from him. I don't even know if he's still representing them, but those are two businesses right now that have the riverfront license pursuant to our approval, that are not using it, that are not open, that are not doing anything with it, and have not been for, in the case of Chickpeas, the entirety of the year. And in the case of Aguavi Mansion, just certainly, I guess, I first noticed it about a month ago, 3 weeks ago. I don't know how long they've been out of business, but they're not complying with the rules. So I bring that to you to either make a formal motion that we suspend that license or revoke that license, or some other kind of direction so that we can get compliance if there's going to be compliance.
Any comments? So I would recommend at this point that certainly we provide these licenses for entities that are providing service, and there's some specific rules and regulations that we have with those licenses. We have revoked some of them in the past over the last number of months. In these two specific situations, I'd like to take under advisement, and we can rule on it in the next meeting. And with no response, I guess my comment would be, if there's no response back from their attorney or the business as to what their plans are, then certainly we would probably look to revoke those. Additionally, it's important to know that the general public know that one of the stipulations in this agreement, or these liquor license agreements, is that they have to provide a large percentage of their annual revenue come from food, not just liquor. So having that that ability to provide those to provide liquor and wine, beer, liquor is important. But from our perspective, if they're not going to provide us with any detail back, we need to look harder. Additional to that, I would say that as we provide new licenses, we need to make sure that we are crystal clear on the rules and regulations that we have from the Indiana State Alcohol Beverage Commission, so that they're clear as to how they need to provide revenue and food revenue and liquor revenue to us.
One more thing, or two more things. There's two other restaurants that we awarded licenses to this year, Cafe Farina and Vita del Logo. Talk with both their attorneys. Cafe Farina is scheduled to open sometime mid to end of January. They just ran into construction problems on the renovation of that building. I think they were originally scheduled to open late summer, early fall, and they've been pushed back 4 months. And Vita del Lago, they've had more problems just related, I think, to personnel. They are doing holiday parties at this time, and they anticipate opening full-time sometime during the month of January. I'm not just picking on the two.
Any questions for Attorney Cernick?
One more thing.
Oh.
Unrelated to that, there was an executive session before this meeting. No issues or no items were discussed that are not permitted by the open door law, and no decisions were made. Now I'm done.
Thank you, sir. Mr. York.
I don't have any additional updates other than just thanks everybody for showing up tonight, and we'll discuss just thanks everybody showing up tonight. And
thank you. Any public comment this evening? Please just state your name and your address, please.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Lawrence Zimmer, 110 Elmwood Drive, Michigan City. I'm the president of the Plan Commission and the Board of Zoning Appeals, but that's not the capacity that I'm appearing with tonight. I'm just a concerned citizen. But anyway, for the last year or so, I've been a supporter of a non-for-profit called Carbon Neutral Indiana. And the executive director of that, he's based in Indianapolis. His name is Daniel Pointer. And he has written a small book that's full of inspiration and lots of resources. And I've agreed to work with him on distributing it to as many people as possible. He had a fundraiser so that it could be sent to every elected official in the state of Indiana. So I assume that includes our mayor and possibly the city council, but I don't know that for sure. But anyway, I have a block of these books, and I would like to gift one to each of you this evening, and hoping that you'll be able to peruse it, look at it, read it. It's a very light, easy read, but it is full of inspiration and information regarding your carbon footprint, not only as individuals, but also we need to be thinking about our carbon footprint as a city and how we can help lessen that. So perhaps we could be on the agenda for the January meeting to answer any questions you might have after reading the book, and possibly maybe you would brainstorm and come up with some ideas for how the work that you do on this commission could help reduce the carbon footprint that the city uses. So with that, I will distribute the books, and that's the only comment I have. Thank you.
Larry, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Oh, this is Tommy Kolovic from 1316 Ohio Street. I have a question for Mr. Schuyler York. I see on the next upcoming Board of Zoning Appeals agenda that from Ton and Blank property, they're supposed to build a Boys and Girls Club. I was just wondering, could you give us an update on where that's going to be located? Thank you.
So Tommy, I would say that that is not under our purview. It's not something that is related to the Redevelopment Commission.
Tommy, they will. Tommy, I know that we put out the BZA agenda. I would say that my assistant Sylvia runs the BZA now. They will provide a site plan. They probably have a site plan right now. I haven't looked at totally the extent of that case, if you will, for the Board of Zoning Appeals. So Sylvia would probably be more. I don't want to tell you something wrong and then it not be factual. I'd rather Sylvia, if she was here, I'd have her answer. Does that make sense, Tommy, if that's okay with you? But at the Board of Zoning Appeals, they will probably give out, which is tomorrow, they will give out plenty of information, I'm sure.
Okay, thank you. I was just curious about that.
No,
BZA meeting.
I mean, I think it's in general in the same location.
Yeah, that seemed like pretty good news.
Or the location of the old YMCA. I'm so sorry, on Cool Spring, but I don't want to. I don't want to give out I don't want to give out any information that's contrary to what has been submitted, if that makes sense.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Tommy. Any other comments from the public? Hearing none, we will start with the Honorable Dom Domkowski.
Thank you. I have been a Kevin fan ever since he started in our district. He does a super job for all the kids and for the people that work in the district. But I want to thank you for working with him the way you have, because it's been something that's been really great for our not only our district, but our community too. And that's why I really say Kevin has done a superior job in bringing this to everybody. The other thing I have is to give a short update of the Brown Mackey building that we've been working on. We had an update meeting on Friday, and we are on track. And Dave Williamson, who manages the project, said we're even ahead of time. So we will be able to have our two rooms of 4-year-old preschoolers there in January. And they've worked mainly on those 2 rooms and the cafeteria so that young people can be serviced. And if you drive by the building, you will notice that there is playground equipment going in front of the building. And we got very lucky on that through David working with someone that could actually beat the wait time on anybody else. And David has that now, so we can have our young people on that equipment. Yes, the playground is in front of the building, but I think that's kind of nice anyway, because it shows people that are going up and down the highway about our program. And when the new building, part of the building, which is going to house the auto trades and the wood and the welding, there will be a gigantic place there for a billboard. So to get our students involved in that at the high school, maybe to put a big mural up there is going to make it look really great. And I believe there was something said that it's not going to be the Brown Mackey building anymore because it just isn't. It's our building now. And I believe there's a name that's going to come up pretty soon. So I think they're ready to name. It's moving forward, and it's going to be a great location and such a neat place for our young people to either be in the trades or to have our preschool there. So thank you.
Always appreciate your tutelage and your commentary. And that's exciting stuff. Yeah. Thank you, Tom. Commissioner Dennis.
I'm also very impressed with always every year when the school comes and makes a presentation to us. I just have one question. Can you get my husband in one of the classes so he knows how to use it? But thank you for doing all the work that you're doing, because it is primarily for the schools, but it encompasses the community in ways that I think we haven't been encompassed before in a project with the schools. So I think that's really very positive.
Thank you. Commissioner Hendricks.
Yeah, I'd just like to say it's the end of the year. I've been on the commission for 3 years now, and I'm going to be leaving the commission next year. I wanted to thank the mayor for the opportunity to be on the commission, and then all the commissioners here. It's been a great experience. I've really enjoyed it. I've loved working with the commission and all the projects and laying the groundwork for a lot of great things that are coming up. I really look forward to driving down the extensions around Menards and the South Side TIF district there. And then seeing the buildings going at the You Are Beautiful and the train station. So just like to thank everyone for the opportunity.
Thanks, John. Mr. Barrett.
Yeah, I'd like to thank John for his efforts. He's brought a lot to this commission, and we certainly appreciate it. So, and I'd like to say happy holidays to everybody out there. And Kevin, we've come a long way with this thing, haven't we? So yeah, you're doing a heck of a job, and we really appreciate it. Thank you.
So I had two things, but now maybe I have three. So first, John, I will tell you that one of the things I appreciate about John Hendricks is he reads every word as Ken Barrett does, reads every word, but not only does he read every word of every document that we send out, he puts his analytical skills to use. And from my perspective, that's a huge piece. There's going to be a little bit of a hole for a piece that we're going to have to find somebody that will fill that. But John, I really appreciate the fact that when you came to the meeting, or there was a question before the meeting, or you got the details, you were asking questions, and that that's terribly important. I hope people understand that when we take on these roles, we don't get paid a lot of money, but we put a lot of work into it, and we have to read it. And John, you're one of the folks that there are probably two people in my life that I've worked with on boards and commissions that have done that. Maybe three now with Ken Barrett included. That really you read it all. And that's so important because, it's just important to be involved. And so I wish you well. I'm mad at you for your leaving, which I told you the other day when we talked about this. But great family in the community. So Kevin, thank you so much. This is. I asked Skylar, can we help in any other way? If there are things that you think that we can maybe help in moving forward, please let us know. I honestly believe that one of the there's a triangle here for Michigan City and every community. You got the public sector, you have the private sector, and then you have the schools. And those three need to work together. I believe that the school system is terribly important. We do send our students, a lot of students, to great schools. But we need to continue that drive. So what you guys do with the money that we provide is great. So I appreciate that. And appreciate the time you put into putting together the slides for us. So last thing, thank you, commissioners. Have a happy holiday, Merry Christmas, and we will see you. The next meeting is January 9th. Yes, 9th, 2023. Have a happy Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.